Greetings, beloved Princeton United Methodist Church community. It's Pastor Jenny here, and I'm reading today from Isaiah chapter 53, verse 3. He was despised and rejected by others, a man of suffering and acquainted with infirmity. And as one from whom others hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him of no account. This is the word of life. Thanks be to God. We're still making our way through the book of Isaiah. We're getting close to the end. This is the second to last week that we're going to be spending in Isaiah. And this passage is one of the servant songs of Isaiah. And I'm not going to get into lots of details around that right this second. But the gist of this is that there's a depiction of a servant of God who enters into the suffering of humans, that in the midst of entering into all of that, as a servant of God who enters into that by choice, there is healing in the midst of that. Not healing the way a lot of us wish, in this kind of just fix it all, eradicate the suffering kind of way, but in a way that enters into it with God's loving presence, loving kindness, that has said, that covenant faithfulness that God has for and with us. Somehow God's presence in the midst of suffering is able to heal and is able to move us into a new lived experience, a future, a hopeful place. And I know that this is so hard, and I don't want to minimize any suffering. I don't want to minimize your suffering or anybody's in this world. It's not at all simple or easy. It is real, but that makes God's presence in it even more powerful and more important too. Now, part of what we see here, of course, is that people struggle to even look upon this servant, this suffering servant. Now, if you were to read through this passage, so this is starting in the 12th verse of Isaiah 52, so Isaiah 52 verse 12, on through Isaiah 53 verse 13 or 12, somewhere around there. If you read through that passage, and I encourage you to do it, you will see a lot of passages, a lot of very familiar words. Probably, if you're, it's likely that you'll find some very familiar things, particularly words that are used on Good Friday during our Holy Week, our Passion, a study of the Passion and experience of that and remembering of that. This passage is not about Jesus, but it is used, this happened 500 years before Jesus was around, but we do use this passage to help us understand the work that God did in Jesus' death and resurrection. In part because this is a similar way, right? This is a similar way that we understand that God does enter into our suffering, take our suffering on. God takes our suffering on, God's self. Not because God has to, but because God chooses to do that. God chooses to enter into this with us. God chooses to take on our suffering as part of God's very own self. And so, without minimizing any suffering, without trying to skirt around it or positive ourselves out of it, none of that. I wonder, though, if you might ponder experiences that you've had of suffering. Maybe it's your own suffering. Maybe it is the suffering of somebody you love, somebody, some group of people, perhaps, or a person that you have maybe not even known, but have felt deeply about in some way. Any of these kind of experiences of suffering are fine. Doesn't matter the kind. But I wonder if, as you ponder this, if you have ever had the experience of finding hope in the midst of suffering, finding comfort and God's presence in the midst of it in a way that helped shape something new that was coming out of that suffering. I wonder if that's something you might ponder. And if that's if you're like, nope, that's never been my experience, I don't resonate with that at all, that's fine too. But to let yourself ponder what that, ponder your responses, whatever they are, even if that's not something that you have had that experience with. So I just invite that kind of meditation there. And I also want to just, Susan Salzberg says this, and I love this, and I think this is a lovely way to kind of tie up this thought. She says, only love is big enough to hold all the pain of this world. And I think ultimately that is what this suffering servant is about, is that kind of bigness of love that holds all the pain of this world. So I leave that to your meditation and pondering over these next days together. So as I said, this is our second to last week in this worship series about building hope. And on this coming Sunday, we are going to have an opportunity after church to prepare some for Lent, which is coming very soon. Ash Wednesday is March 5th. That's when Lent starts, the season that prepares us, that gives us time and space to prepare for Jesus' resurrection on Easter. But on Sunday, you are invited to stay after church if you're joining us in person to paint hearts, to prepare some hearts that will be part of our Lenten practice celebration that's coming very soon. Our theme for Lent is "With Whom is My Heart?" And I want to show you this little book. We put together a daily Lenten devotional practices book again this year, and it is ready. It is available to you in a couple of different forms. I hope that our paperback books will be here by Sunday. They may or may not. They will definitely be here by March 2nd, which is the Sunday before Lent. But you can already find a PDF version of this that's free. You can find a Kindle version of this. There'll be links in the email below. That $1.99 for a Kindle edition of this. And if you want a paperback one, you can order that from Amazon too, but we'll have them for $5 at the church in either this Sunday or the next and following as well. So a couple of ways to do that. But one of the things that we're focusing on during Lent is, again, where is my heart? Who is my heart with? Who do I let my heart be with and affected by? And we'll be kind of launching from this study of Isaiah into some of these questions as well. We're going to move from Isaiah into other books and other passages, but that's really kind of our root is right here in Isaiah, where we have been for the past couple of months. So I commend this to you, and again, we'll keep reminding you about this, and you're welcome to stay after church on Sunday for heart decorating. I look forward to seeing you as soon as I can, hopefully on Sunday and in the days and weeks beyond that. Remember that you were created for joy. You are enough because God is enough. You are a beloved child of God, and God is right here with you, with us. God is present and will never forget or forsake you or any of us. It is a joy for me to be on this journey with you, and I will see you very soon. Take care.